Okay. How are we doing today, besides wet? Cold, a little damp. A couple people are thumbs up. Okay. This is Jag, who very obviously did not steal my glasses. They were just laying there on the floor, and he just happens to be right next to them. Okay, the second quiz for this unit on argument maps has actually been up and available for a minute now, but I forgot to set the due date on it, so I think it hasn't shown up on anyone's to-do list yet. I just did that just now, so hopefully that will show up. Same thing as the first quiz. Official deadline is tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. But if you don't get it tomorrow, you'll have an additional chance over the next few weeks. Also, like the first quiz, there are lots of examples and practice materials right here. The full instructions, a bunch of clarifications because sometimes some things seem to be confusing to students. And then a few worked examples, and then a bunch more for practice that follow the same structure as the quiz. Okay, the structure of the quiz, it has just 3 questions. For each question, you're given an argument in prose form, an objection to it, and then a reply to that objection. So we're not asking you to come up with the objection and reply yourself. You put the argument into premise conclusion form sort of on your own. There isn't place to do that, but you'll want to do that step first so you're clear on like where the conclusion is, where the premises are. Then put the whole debate into an argument map, basically just like we've been practicing this week. I will say these are intentionally simpler than the examples we've been working on in class because the goal of this quiz is just to make sure you sort of understand the different elements of an argument map and how to use them correctly. It's not about sort of broader stuff relating to learning to engage in debate, which is what this unit, which is what, like this week, is really focused on. So the questions, and you'll see this in the practice materials. The arguments are about as complex, but the objections and the replies are pretty simple. When you're finished with that, upload an image file. Remember that this needs to be legible, whether it's Polyphony or I who grade it. We need to be able to read it, and we will ask you to redo it if we can't read your argument map. And you need 2 out of 3 maps to qualify as acceptable to pass the quiz. This is intended, again, to be pretty straightforward, not a big challenge. The key things we'll be looking for, when there are multiple premises, you put a grouping box around them. Arrows, so something we talked about, I forget whether it was last Thursday or Tuesday, the nuance that arrows can come from, have their tail at either a single premise or a group of premises, but they always point at just one claim. So that's something we'll be paying attention to. The use of color to indicate the different sides of the debate, and then the use of arrow styling to indicate support versus challenge. Okay. Any questions about the logistics or the formatting or the expectations for the quiz? Great. Okay, so last time we started mapping debates. I kind of walked us, well, actually you all did these. I didn't walk us through doing mapping this abortion debate, you all did. But yeah, so we mapped this debate surrounding abortion. You'll recall because I had the conclusion worded differently on the slides versus the notes, the colors in your version are different, but the which arrows are supporting versus challenging, those all stay the same. Yeah. Are there any questions? I didn't see any questions related to this on the 2-sentence papers. Does anyone have questions left over from mapping this debate? Excellent. Now someone, is it maybe Jack? So one of the things we had talked about last time that was picking up something from last Thursday was we usually don't want to try to be as complex as real debates actually are. We often are interested in kind of simplifying the presentation of the debate in the argument map, so it makes the argument map easier to read, and that actually helps us understand the debate better than if we tried to include all of the nuances and all the complexity. And so I think it was Jack, I apologize if I am misremembering who, said, well, sometimes we might want to be comprehensive. We might want to show all of the arguments involved in a debate. And I tried to find an example during class and couldn't. So after class, I did some looking around, and I found this site called Kialo. I'm just going to go with the vegan one because it's handy. So you can see it's organized as debates over various topics. You can come in here. And I think I need to turn off my ad blocker for this to work correctly. OK, there's sort of background information on the topic. This right here. So this is a comprehensive map of the debates surrounding veganism. That is the goal here, trying to be comprehensive. You can see the dot indicates which claim we're at. So right now it's the sort of headline claim, all humans should be vegan. And then pro and con arguments, the way this thing does it, pro arguments that support the top claim are always highlighted in green. Arguments that challenge it are always in red. And you can see there are lots and lots of arguments sort of spreading out, and some getting kind of peripheral to that debate. So like here's a thing about the capability of grasslands with grass-fed cattle to store greenhouse gases, getting quite distant from the question of whether or not humans should be vegan, but ultimately being able to trace back to this. Just a couple that I was looking at here. So all humans should be vegan. There are almost 700 claims or arguments on this whole map. Whether Trump was a good president, 340 claims. The biggest one I was able to find searching around was whether or not God exists. Let's see if I can find that again quickly. Oh, no, maybe not. Yeah, it looks like I was searching through the. I have no idea why it says I'm following this thing about football. And I don't want mine. I want explore popular. There we go. Does God exist? So this one, you can see lots of arguments here, but actually a lot of them are hidden. I don't quite know the rules that they have for when things should be archived. But you do this, and you can see there are probably hundreds of sort of first order arguments for and against the existence of God. There's so many that you can't even really distinguish them that well. Like, it's just sort of the smear across here. And you scroll down, and a lot. So, anyways, if what you wanted was a comprehensive exploration of a debate, it seems like this site would be a place to go. Okay, that is really all I wanted to say about that. So now, at the end last time, you all at your tables started working on this debate. So the central claim here is STEM majors should not be required to take humanities classes. The task was first, as a group, pick a side. So you're not dividing into two sides, and one side is pro and the other side is con on this. As a group, I want you to develop an argument for this conclusion and against this conclusion. As a group, pick a side. Do you want to be for or against? Develop an argument supporting your position, pro or con. Then an opposing argument, an objection to that first argument, a reply to the objection, and put all of this on an argument map. So you should end up with something roughly as complex as this for the abortion debate, but with your group's particular arguments. For each argument, we don't want them to be super complicated. Keep them about 1 to 3 premises. Don't make the individual premises too long or complex. So I gave the example of replacing Warren had this long list of criteria that I bundled together and just called them cognitive capacities. You can do something similar. And as a stretch goal, you can aim to use acceptable premises that provide good support, but this is a stretch goal. This is not the primary goal of this activity. The primary goal of this activity is to get some practice developing opposing arguments versus objections and replies, and put it all onto a big argument map. Really compelling arguments are not the goal at this time. So it's okay if your arguments here are kind of crappy. So we'll pick this up again, probably do at least 10 more minutes on this because you all will have to refresh yourselves from 48 hours ago. And then we'll want to do sort of some sharing of the results before we move on. Yes. Okay, any questions? Okay, I will go ahead and turn the music back on, and we'll go at least 10 minutes, which will be about 25 after. Okay, let's come back together. Could we get a group to volunteer to walk the whole class through your debate? Was that table 8 volunteering? Yeah. Okay. Where's your button? There's your button. Oh, that's actually not the one I meant to do. I meant to do that one. But we got it on all the screens now. Okay.
All right, so we've got our main claim here that STEM majors should not be required to take humanities classes. And on our pro side, we have the argument consisting of premises. Adding humanities classes increases the amount of unnecessary units STEM majors need units to graduate. And with too many units to take, less students will apply for STEM majors. And in objection to that first premise, we have humanity classes offer views and moral values, and the work of STEM majors impacts a large portion of humanity, so ethics are critical. And as a reply to that latter premises, we have ethics don't matter, sponsored by Lockheed Martin and the DoD. And then going back to our main claim here, we have a argument to the con side, consisting of the two premises. Humanities classes can improve a person's awareness of themselves and others, and STEM majors require awareness of themselves and others. And we have a reply to that, or an objection to that second premises. Most STEM majors require more industrial skills and communications.
Good. Quick terminology check. The argument, humanities classes can improve a person's awareness of themselves and others, and STEM majors require awareness of themselves and others. What kind of argument is that?
This is an argument towards the credibility of the industry.
No. That's not what I'm talking about. Sorry. Question was too open-ended. Okay. We have this terminology of opposing arguments, objections, and replies. Of those three, which is that argument? Is it an opposing argument, an objection, or a reply, and why? Nick, right? Yeah, Nick.
It's an opposing argument because it directly opposes the conclusion.
Good. It's an opposing argument because it challenges the conclusion. Okay. And then the blue argument coming off of that. Most STEM majors require more industrial skills than communications. What kind of argument is that? Opposing argument, objection, or reply?
Objection.
Good. It's an objection. Why is it an objection?
Because it's opposing an objecting argument instead of an objection.
Good. Because I would just change the wording very, very slightly. It's challenging a premise rather than a conclusion. So an objection challenges a premise. An opposing argument challenges a conclusion. And there's a reply up here. It got slightly mangled. That's a hint. Where's the reply? And what makes it a reply? Devin?
Is it most STEM majors require more industrial skills than communications?
Nope. That is actually not a reply.
The ethics matter.
Yeah, which should be ethics don't matter. That got turned white somehow. Yeah, so that one is a reply. Now, what makes it a reply? Aiden?
Is it because it's technically in opposition to an opposition?
Good, slightly different term. It's an objection to an objection. Objection to an objection. Three key words are opposing argument, objection, and reply. So that last one is a reply because it's an objection, it challenges a premise, of an objection, an argument that challenges a premise. Good. Questions or comments on this debate? Fantastic. Okay, I am going to, let's see, I think I do that. That changes all of those.
Everything's good to me.
I do this. Okay, and then that. Okay, there we are. Great. So, now that we have some practice developing debates using these tools so far, argument maps, thinking in terms of objections and replies, again, we define a debate in this class as an exchange of arguments for and against, an exchange of arguments for and against a claim between two or more people who we call the interlocutors. When is a debate good or productive? So we sometimes say, this debate was a good debate, this debate was a productive debate. And often we say, this debate was not good. It was dysfunctional, it was toxic, it was unproductive. What I'd like you to do is think for a moment on your own and then talk in groups about either version of this question. When is a debate good or productive? Or how do we know a good debate when we see one? From there, you can go on to the last question. What are some ground rules that make a debate good? But start off with either version of the question in the middle bullet point. When is a debate good or productive? Or how do we know a good debate when we see it? Is the question clear enough? Okay, we'll spend a few minutes on this. I will go ahead and turn on the music, I think. We'll come back in about 30 seconds. Okay, let's come back together. So what are some things that make a debate good or productive? Or how do we know a good debate when we see it? Jonathan?
One thing is that it doesn't go in circles. Like, you're not, like, constantly looping back to the same arguments over and over.
You're all talking. Other answers? Yeah.
We have the idea that to be productive, somebody, they have to like come to an agreement.
Come to an agreement. Would folks agree? Do you have to come to an agreement for the debate to be a good or productive one? Devin, you're shaking your head no.
Well, I think you can have a productive debate without coming to an agreement, because we were talking, and we think when you listen to the other person, you come up with other ideas, and you're like respectful, you're having a productive debate, because as they said, you're not just moving in a circle, you're continuing to talk about new stuff and new points of views. And so you may disagree, but you're still expanding the argument, I guess.
We'll go, I saw Eric's hand first, and then we'll go to Dominic.
I feel like, so like, what is it? Having an agreement in an argument
Mm-hmm.
common as it is in real life fixes.
Uh-huh.
I feel like as long as arguments stay as arguments, then I don't know, like this attacks or stuff, as long as it stays as arguments, it's good.
Make sure I understand you right. So long as they stay arguments in the sense that we've been using the term, reasons why you should do or accept something, rather than being attacks on someone. Okay, and then Dominic?
Well, like, in a debate, it should be coming, not really like settling it, like trying to change the person's opinion. It should be like having them come to an understanding about what you're talking about. It's not like you're trying to like win them over necessarily. It's more just I'm trying to show you what I know as a fact, what my opinion is. Not trying to change theirs necessarily. It's kind of just understanding each other's sides and listening.
Good. Duncan and Elizabeth, is that a hand? Okay, Duncan?
So we actually had this debate at our table
Uh-huh.
because he asserted that an argument just needs to make progress on an issue. A sub-claim has to be agreed upon in order for it to be a productive argument. I would constitute that I think that an argument is only productive when an agreement is reached. These are all interesting points. I don't agree with them because I don't think we're talking about the same meaning of productivity. You're talking about expanding somebody else's worldview. Yes, but that's also entirely feasible through other means. Like, to use an example of if it is a sub-claim has made progress. I've shown somebody a fact. I've proven to them some smaller part that I use to construct an argument. There was, rather recently, a group of folks who were all flat earthers and a few non-flat earthers who debate a lot of flat earthers who got flown down to Antarctica by a pastor who wanted to try to settle the flat earth debate.
Okay.
Watch the sun do a full circle around the Antarctic sky.
Uh-huh.
And they watched it. It was live streamed. It was recorded with like 35 different cameras from different angles that all had each other in frame. And yet, despite proving this subclaim, no progress was made. There's still no consensus amongst the flat earth community about what this means. A subclaim was proven that they had previously said, oh, if this happens, then it means X, Y, and Z. And they backtracked. Despite the progress being made in proving a component of the argument, it did not change anybody. It did not change anybody's beliefs. And it resulted in an extraordinary waste of effort and time and money by a large group of people.
Okay, so we have sort of two main positions here in the conversation right now. One position is that a debate is good or productive only if it results in consensus, if everyone agrees at the end. The other view is that you don't need consensus. What you really want is sort of mutual understanding. So we have these two positions here. I want to hear from some of the quieter folks on where you might fall. Are you more inclined to say a debate is only good if it produces consensus? Or are you more inclined to say a debate can be good if it produces mutual understanding without everyone agreeing? Everyone clear enough on sort of the two basic positions? Okay. To get more of the quieter folks involved, we're going to take a minute. Think to yourself where you might fall. And then after a minute or so, turn to one person sitting next to you and share your views. And then we're going to come back together. I'm going to ask some of the quieter folks for their opinions. Okay, one or two people sitting right next to you, but I don't want a whole big group discussion. One or two people. We'll come back together in about 30 seconds. Okay, let's come back together. One of the quieter folks. Which way do you fall between a debate needs to produce consensus and a debate needs to produce understanding? One of the quieter folks. Elizabeth?
I think that it depends on what purpose the debate has. If it's a political debate, then majority consensus would obviously be a good thing.
Okay.
But if you're debating with a friend or a family member, if they don't need to agree with you, they just, I guess, need to know where you're coming from and what your point of view is, and to respect it, rather than being like, oh yeah, I suddenly agree with everything you just said, even though I didn't.
So it depends on the purpose of the debate. If the purpose of the debate is to make a decision that's going to be binding on everyone, then I think you said not necessarily full consensus, but at least a majority need to go along with it. Whereas if the purpose is just to have better interactions with your family members who disagree with you about some pretty serious things, understanding can be good for that. Interesting. Other thoughts from some of the quieter folks? Jonathan, you are not one of the quieter folks. You're great. You're not one of the quieter folks. Devin? Okay.
If not, then pretty much go back to the politics thing. If it doesn't ever go farther or reach an end goal, then they just dismiss it because it's it's no use for them anymore because it's going nowhere. It's more productive if it does reach an end goal because then they have like it ends and there's an agreement towards it.
I think I want to hear from one more person. Freddie.
I think, like, for really complex, like, debates, you're not gonna agree on everything.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be, I would consider productive that at least you can get into an understanding or agreement on one premise
Uh-huh.
or a few. And that's when I would consider debate, like, productive.
So you're on the side of we need agreement.
Well, I'm more like, I think we only need understanding.
Oh. Okay, do you want to say that again then? Because I took like completely the opposite from that.
Okay, well, I could say, like, agreement, but agreement, like, on a few premises or, like, understanding of them. Because we're not gonna agree on everything, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, is it like understanding means we reach like some partial agreement?
Yeah.
So you're kind of bringing the two together. Really interesting. Okay. Anyone want the last thing? Eric.
So I say, when we have a debate, the general view of the debate kind of goes from like, the opposing and the
Uh-huh.
like back and forth.
Yeah.
But even if it does end up in the middle again,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going anywhere. You're just back to where you started.
Mm-hmm.
So you did all that activity, and it doesn't go like nowhere. It definitely does, I don't know, add on,
Uh-huh.
and that's definitely productive with that activity.
Good. Okay. This conversation that we had just now over the last 10 or 15 minutes or so, how many people would say this was a good or productive conversation? Hands up. Okay, not everyone, but a lot of people. That's totally fine. This conversation that we had just now was an exchange of arguments for and against a claim between two or more people. So we just had a debate as a class over this pretty abstract question of the purpose of a debate or what makes a debate good. We didn't reach consensus, but a lot of people still felt that it was a good and productive exchange. Was that because of understanding? Did we actually reach agreement on something? Or something else? Skylar, do you have a thought?
I kind of think we kind of were reaching an agreement towards the end.
Ah,
I think
okay.
it was more of like an incomplete.
So maybe we were approaching an agreement on understanding as the purpose, as what makes for a good debate, or something like that. Okay. Approaching agreement that the purpose of a good debate is not necessarily agreement.
I'm a little amused that the standard actually is approaching agreement for most people. Because it isn't reaching agreement.
Yeah,
It's just you have to be going in that direction.
good. Okay. So we have 10 minutes left. Let's see. Okay. Did any tables get to that third question, some ground rules that make a debate good? Deb?
We came up with some.
Uh-huh.
So one of them was you want people to take turns talking. So take turns talking. You
Mhm.
shouldn't interrupt, so the talking stick. We figured to avoid like a circular argument,
Mm-hmm.
you would only spend a certain amount of time on a certain set of premises. We had some other ones, but I forgot. Oh yeah, respectful, like
Mm-hmm.
need to stay calm, you shouldn't like get mad or let your emotions like dictate how you behave.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that was some of the key ones.
Uh-huh.
be prepared. You shouldn't like come in, like if you're going to a debate,
Mm.
like walk in and go like, oh, let me Google that really quick. You should, have reputable sources and
Okay.
support for your argument and premises.
Yeah. Later in the semester, we'll actually talk about evaluating sources to figure out which ones are reputable. Good. Other things that people talked about as ground rules for a good debate? I think I overheard respect coming from several tables. What about the thing that I did where I said I wanted to hear from quiet people? And then had you think individually and then with just one other person? And then asked for contributions specifically from the quieter folks in class. How does that fit in here? Sahana?
Making sure everyone's voices are heard.
Yeah, exactly. Making sure that everyone gets an opportunity to contribute. I realize, even in a class that's not super large like this one, a lot of students have anxiety about speaking out in class. And part of the reason why I do the small group stuff and the thing where think on your own and then talk with one other person and then maybe share with the whole class, that's actually a standard teaching technique called think, pair, share. I do that a lot so that everyone gets an opportunity to kind of think through things on their own and talk through with at least one other person, even if they're too scared to talk in front of the whole class. Good. Any other things people want to go away? Any other things people want to identify as ground rules for a good debate?
Maybe having a moderator that can help moderate the debate so it doesn't get too off track or whatever.
Someone like a philosophy professor. Okay, but not always necessary and not always something we have. Okay, so I need to talk at you all for a few minutes to introduce sort of this larger assignment that's coming up. Okay, the transition here is a little awkward because I am partially recycling these slides from last year when I approached this somewhat differently. So sorry for the awkward transition that happens with this slide. In the last few minutes here, I'm going to introduce a kind of extended assignment that you are going to be doing with a partner, where you will be having a debate among the two of you. This is kind of let's actually do this. We'll just get into the assignment and I will use that to frame the slide I just moved. Okay, so this assignment is called Difficult Conversation. The instructions are super detailed. Right here. It's a lot. This is a highly structured activity where you will be working with a partner, and I'm going to put the partner assignments up on the screen at the end. This is due in a few weeks, March 7th, but it has multiple steps. So that's why I'm telling you about it now. The aim of this assignment is to practice using the tools from this class, including the stuff we were just talking about, to engage in constructive disagreement with someone else. To practice having a one-on-one debate without a moderator right there, although I'll talk about some roles that Polyphony and I can play, where you disagree with one of your classmates. You can think of this as a multi-part one-on-one debate activity. So we don't have a big debate activity where I organize you in two sides and in class, you directly debate with each other, except for the kind of ad hoc thing that we just did. This is my alternative to that. It's one-on-one, except there's one group of 3 because there's an odd number of you. Multiple steps walking you through having a constructive, thoughtful disagreement. You can see if you kind of preview this, there's actually 2 separate rounds of conversation. Those are structured, so you'll be taking turns using a timer to ensure that you both get equal opportunity to share your views and critique the other person's view. And then what you turn in by March 7th is a not too long, but multi-step reflection on this activity. Devin.
Should it be a topic that you both actually disagree on? Or?
Yes, and that's actually the slide I just turned to. How to choose a topic. The topic is up to you. I'm not going, if you really want help with suggestions, I can give you suggestions. But what you want when you choose a topic is one where, first of all, you sincerely disagree about some aspect of the topic. That doesn't mean it has to be like a super high stakes thing that you're going to decide, once and for all, but it has to be something where you genuinely disagree with each other. Second, you want a topic that isn't just a matter of taste. So every year, someone tries to do pineapple on pizza, dogs versus cats, or Beyonce versus Taylor Swift. Okay, those are topics that are matters of taste. They're not really things where we can give good reasons to justify why we prefer, say, Taylor Swift to Beyonce, or vice versa, okay? Those topics aren't good for this activity because you can't really get into exchanging reasons, arguments, objections, and replies. So avoid those kinds of topics. So sincere disagreement, not just a matter of taste. And third, you're both comfortable discussing your disagreement. Okay, so there might be an issue where you both disagree, but one person is like, that is too sensitive to me, that is too personal, I can't do that topic. That is totally fine. The 2 of you should find, or the 3 of you, should find a different topic. In line with Devin's question, it is very important that you don't play devil's advocate. We want sincere disagreement, and I want you to exchange your actual reasons why you hold the views that you do. This is because when we play devil's advocate, we don't usually rely on a really careful understanding of the point of view that we're representing. We rely on stereotypes, what we've picked up often second, third, fourth hand, and the point of this assignment is to get better at having conversations where there's genuine disagreement. This doesn't mean you won't be thinking about the other side, but you will learn better about the opposing point of view if the person representing that view sincerely holds it. Duncan.
So, I had a question about your definition of matters of taste.
Yeah.
I was thinking about one thing that might be fun to debate, and then I went, I'm not sure if you can even theoretically come to a conclusion on this matter, because it's a matter of ethical preference. Like, it was an argument that very quickly would have resolved down into a...
I'm going to say, since we're short on time, I'm going to say you can explore that possibility with your partner, and the 2 of you can check with me for guidance, okay?
Okay.
So with these guidelines, again, the topic can be big or small. Small could be the dining hall should do meatless Mondays. Slightly larger, should California ban lawns? Should I'm going to make this Elon Musk go to prison rather than Trump? Because for reasons Trump can't go to prison right now. Does God exist? Like the biggest of the big questions, potentially. Sort of the scope, the topic is up to you within these guidelines. This assignment requires you to take risks. you will be paired up. I tried to get pairs who are across the different groups, so you will probably, hopefully, be paired up with someone you don't already know, more or less a complete stranger. And you might potentially be talking about a fairly personal or emotionally involved issue, and that's risky. In this context, think of Polyphony and I as your safety net. If there are problems with your partner, whether that's because there's trouble scheduling things, they're not responding to your messages, they ghost you, they don't show up to meetings, or, we're going to talk about lines in a second, they're not respecting your lines, they are generally acting kind of creepy or abusive or something like that, please don't hesitate to bring us in to ask for help. Okay, so if you need a moderator or even just like someone to deal with your partner being kind of creepy, bring us in to that role. We won't be like looking over everybody's shoulder because there's too many of you, but we are here if you need us. Some things you can do in your particular conversation to help with this. So I'm a big player of tabletop role-playing games. I think a few other folks in here are as well. One of the things about tabletop role-playing games, if you get away from like Dungeons and Dragons, where going around a dungeon and beating up monsters, the kind of role-playing games that I play are much more, let's say, dramatically focused, character-oriented, and they can often like bring out strong emotional reactions from the players. You get like really wrapped up in the emotional and social life of the character you're playing. That can pose certain kinds of risks. So the role-playing game community has developed some tools to help navigate this, which I encourage you to use in this assignment and in other difficult conversations you might have going forward. The first set of tools are called lines. You set hard lines and soft lines. This is a conversation, an explicit conversation you have at the beginning. I actually have it as step 0. As part of choosing your topic, you should set hard lines, which are things that will not be discussed in this conversation. So that might be, for example, if the topic, say, has something to do with trans policies and gender identity, and maybe you are trans or non-binary, you might set a hard line around personal experiences that you have had, or details about your transition. You might say, nope, we are not talking about that in this conversation. Soft lines are things that can be discussed but need to be handled with care. And so both of you should make a point when you encounter a soft line of being like, okay, is it okay if we talk about this in this way? Or do we need to do something else? So those are hard and soft lines. Those are explicit things you set at the very beginning. The other thing, the other two you can use, which we didn't get a chance to practice with these today, but I have examples, are called pause and rewind cards. So a physical card with a pause symbol and, your direction, is that rewind? No, that's fast forward. That's rewind. Okay, physical cards with the pause and rewind symbol. The idea is you have these on the table when you're having your conversation, and anyone at any time can pick one of these up. Pause means we need to take a break. This is getting a little too intense for me. I need 5 or 10 minutes. Okay? Rewind means something is really not working, or we need to go back to where we were previously and pick a different direction to go forward from here. Okay? I have some more details about how these are used in the instructions for the assignment. And maybe if there are questions, I can answer questions on Tuesday. I think of these tools and the role that Polyphony and I play here in analogy to riding a bike. So like riding a bike, debating can be fun, exciting, and potentially dangerous. A few of you already have experience. You know how fun it can be. I did competitive debate when I was an undergrad. I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. But it can bring some emotional, there can be some emotional aspects to it that make it sort of potentially hazardous. Polyphony are your training wheels, or the parent running along behind you to help you balance. We are here temporarily to help you figure out how to do this well, but we're not going to be around beyond the semester. Beyond the semester, you can use things like these safety tools. You can even do it kind of informally in, say, conversations with your family members. These are techniques that I use when I'm debating with my conservative family member all the time. And in that respect, they're like a helmet for riding your bike. Something, a piece of safety equipment that you can use forever. Okay, sorry we are really at time. I'm going to jump right to this. So these are the pairings for difficult conversation number 1. Take a second, find your name. Then we will do a quick round so that everyone gets everyone else's name. And then, I'm sorry, we are like running past time today. Usually I'm very good about this. Okay, everyone find their name on there, and then their partner's name. Okay, we'll start here. Just say your name loud enough that like folks on the other side of the room can hear.
Sahana.
Skylar.
Thomas. Duncan. Hayden.
Yeah.
Freddie.
Devin.
And which Devin?
Devin Clay.
Eric. Jonathan L.
Dominic Beck.
Alexa.
Devin Garrett.
Andrew.
Okay, good. Sorry we're running over. 2-sentence conversation as usual, and then hopefully find your partner. We may need to do this again on Tuesday if it gets a little too rushed. I apologize for that. But thank you, great work this week. Have a great rest of your Thursday and a great weekend, and we'll see you on Tuesday.